Yes, sir.
The Adventures of No Joe Schmo.
We back. Listen, what a wonderful week. What a wonderful week, man. Again, I cannot express enough my appreciation for the love that you all are showing me. Like, me putting together this whole idea of getting this brand out of my head has been a tedious one, but you all are along for the ride, and guess what? Y'all at the beginning stages of it too. Y'all can always say, I remember when he was here, and now look at him. That's what we get into. So, listen, last week I talked about the children that I serve and the purpose of why I was doing what I was doing and how I got into the career. Now I want to show you some of the testimonies that I got, all right? This is some of the proof, some of the testimonies that I got. And I'm doing this for a reason, because I want y'all to specifically know the details of watching. Like, so a lot of people plant seeds, right? And I always use this cultivation, the idea of cultivation, when I'm like talking about the kids, because a lot of people plant seeds, children, and then they stare at the ground. They water it and then just stare at the ground, right? It's the wrong thing to do. You got to water it, give it enough light, and trust that they grow. And trust that they grow, because you're watching every little inch that comes out of the ground. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for the kids. But going back into the point where I'm trying to prove, I want to show y'all the flowers that I received from my cultivation, me planting my seeds. And these flowers come years later after, okay? Here's the first one. The first one says, seriously, you were the biggest light and blessing in my life while at AFH. I'll never forget the long conversations and encouragement you poured into me. Thankful for you and who you are, and I know I'm not the only one. Right? Let's keep it moving. You kept me from going down the wrong path in a bad time in my life. I appreciate that. And I will always think of you as a mentor. It doesn't stop. More flowers. From the time I was 7 up until I left and came back at 16, you was a big inspiration in my life and always made sure I had my head on solid and straight. I love all of y'all for real. Y'all taught me a lot and showed me a lot of love, all right? Actually, y'all came to work and didn't treat it like a job. Yeah, there's more. Here's my favorite. It's been an entire decade since our paths met, Mr. Lloyd Musa. And something I will have to admit is there is knowledge you've given to me from way back then that I can't help but still apply to my everyday life and even my craft. What I can never forget is how it was like I was your long lost nephew. You had us exercising, learning, laughing, and not using profanity in our music. He said, you made me better at everything I wanted to put my energy or effort into, and never discouraged me or made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I am beyond grateful for the mentor / father figure you dedicated your heart to being to me and many others during some of our hardest times. It is an indescribable amount of love I will always have for you, and I will never forget how much you impacted my life. Thank you very much. Listen, trust and believe. If you have kids, if you know anybody who's raising kids, then you're a support system. If you're an auntie, if you're an uncle, if you're a grandparent, right? Just know that you have to sow into the seeds and know that the plant will grow. No, you have to have an extreme amount of faith, right? So what I want to share with you all is one of the tools that I think that you all can put in your tool belt that could help you in regards to whatever type of teenage experiences you may be troubled with. It's something I want to share with you, all right? So I've given you the proof of the pudding. The proof in the pudding. I know what I'm talking about. I gave you that. Now I want to share with you a slight tool that you can put in your tool belt, all right? Now, this tool is pretty simple, and it's pretty kind of like, oh, you know, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's deep when you look at the details of it, right? And it's all about empowerment. You have to empower your children. You have to empower the youth. You have to empower them when they're babies. You have to empower them when they're teenagers. And you have to empower them when they're adults. Empowerment means simply giving them the confidence to be able to resolve issues on their own, to be able to make decisions, right, on their own. Everything that we utilize in adults in making executive decisions, executive decision making, is empowerment. It's empowerment. How do I do that with my teenager, Lloyd, you ask? Or with my grandson, or with my nephew? Here's how you do it. As a caregiver or as someone who loves this teenager, right? Because first of all, you have to be coming from a place of love. So anything, let's set the prerequisite. Let's set this prior to, right, me going into this. You have to be able to kind of work on you first, right? Work through all your issues and work through all the things you may be struggling with, because that secondary trauma of like your experiences bleeding into your youth is real, right? So you got to make sure that you're doing this out of love, what I'm about to tell you, and also out of knowing you dealt with your stuff. Okay? Confidence in that first and foremost. But here's what you do. You create an invisible circle, right? An invisible circle that your youth or that particular youth lives within. They live within this invisible circle. They don't know that the walls of the circle are there, but there is an invisible circle, right? So when they have issues or things that come up, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say they're having an issue with their peer at school, and they're wanting to fight, and they're wanting to do, and you're coming to find out about this, right? Most parents would say, you don't go to school and fight. You go to school to learn. You don't go to do, they're telling them what to do as opposed to hearing what their thoughts are of what they're doing. Instead, why do you want to go to school to fight? Should be the question, right? Here's where the invisible circle comes in at. You ask them, why do they want to go to school and fight this young man? And let's say he's like, because like he always, he just think he's funny. Like he always clowning and joking, you know what I'm saying? But I don't be playing. Like I don't feel like playing all the time, right? Okay, so that you want to fight? Yeah, I want to fight them. Now they're outside the invisible circle, right? Because now they're talking about fighting. The invisible circle represents the threshold, like the law, like the wall, the brick wall, but it's invisible. They can't see that you made this circle for them. But you know that fighting is outside of that circle. It's not conducive to them their learning experience at school, right? You know that's outside of that, right? So then you ask them, well, no, I don't think you're gonna be fighting, because what are the consequences of fighting? Like you could end up going to jail, you could do this. So what else could you do? You're pushing them back within the circle. The reason why it's invisible, because you don't want them to see it. You want to be like, I know that that's out of bounds, but I want you to realize how you to think, you to realize how you're going to resolve this issue. Because mommy and daddy ain't always going to be there. Uncle and auntie ain't always going to be there. Grandma and grandpa ain't always going to be there. You're going to have to be able to make these decisions on your own. So getting them to think about what they're doing is paramount. It's empowering them. You ain't gonna be able to call me and ask me my advice all the time. I'm not gonna be there all the time to help you make those split-second decisions. But while these incidents are happening, it is my responsibility as a person who loves you to put you in those parameters and get you thinking more so than instinctually what you want to do as a 13-year-old, because we know that's gonna get you in trouble. The more you stand on their side as opposed to standing over them wagging their finger, the more you have a chance to not only know where their mind is and know how they're thinking, right? Because a lot of kids are afraid to talk to their parents. A lot of kids are afraid to talk to an adult because they feel like they're going to get judged, or they feel like you're not going to understand them. The more you stand on the side of them and you kind of can see how their thoughts are, the more you have more freedom and more opportunities to be able to mold them. Because what you don't know, you don't know. But if I know my son or my daughter is, I don't have a daughter, but if I know my son or my daughter or whoever is thinking about being sexually active, now I can have a different conversation than I could if I didn't know. You want to know. That's why the lines are invisible. Because when the lines are visible for them to see, then you're judging them. But once you know they passed this line that you created that's invisible, you're able to get them to reframe their thought by asking them what else could they do, or what else can we think about doing? You're challenging them to evolve. And it's their thoughts. It's their ideas. Because we know inception is real. Right? So y'all put that in y'all pocket. Y'all take that with you. I am Lloyd Musa. This is No Joe Schmo. I'ma holler at y'all next week.
No Joe Schmo.